Jesus, I crave to know you, just to know you will satisfy my soul.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. This is episode number 203. I want to thank you for taking the time to join me on this episode as we continue our way through lessons in Luke. In this episode, we are in chapter 8, and today we are going to be expanding on a particular story many of you may be familiar with, but it's one of my favorites among the Gospels. But Jesus here starting in verse 26, Jesus restores a demon-possessed man, and it speaks to me of the transformative power of God. And so we'll read this story and then unpack some ideas, some thoughts to consider. And so I appreciate you for being with me. So Luke chapter 8, starting in verse 26, says, "They sailed to the region of the Gerasenes, which is across the lake from Galilee. When Jesus stepped ashore, he was met by a demon-possessed man from the town. For a long time, this man had not worn clothes or lived in a house, but had lived in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell at his feet, shouting at the top of his voice, 'What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, don't torture me.' For Jesus had commanded the impure spirit to come out of the man. Many times it had seized him, and though he was chained hand and foot and kept under guard, he had broken his chains and had been driven by the demon into solitary places. Jesus asked him, 'What is your name?' 'Legion,' he replied, because many demons had gone into him. And they begged Jesus repeatedly not to order them to go into the abyss. A large herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside. The demons begged Jesus to let them go into the pigs, and he gave them permission. When the demons came out of the man, they went into the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and was drowned. When those tending the pigs saw what had happened, they ran off and reported this in the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone out, sitting at Jesus' feet, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people how the demon-possessed man had been cured. Then all the people of the region of the Gerasenes asked Jesus to leave them, because they were overcome with fear. So he got into the boat and left. The man from whom the demons had gone out begged to go with him, but Jesus sent him away, saying, 'Return home and tell how much God has done for you.' So the man went away and told all over town how much Jesus had done for him." Now, this is a powerful story. It demonstrates that no matter what condition you find yourself in, no matter how oppressed, no matter, in his case, how possessed, no matter the situation or the circumstance, God can, in a moment, transform your situation. And another powerful thing is this: though there was people in the region, Jesus interacts here with just one man. It reinforces what we read in elsewhere of Jesus leaving the 99 for the one. And where you are in life right now, your situation, you may feel like you're all alone, that you're struggling with whatever issue it is you're struggling with all by yourself. But one thing among many that we can gather from this story is that God sees you where you are and the situation that you're in, and He's willing and able and desiring to step into your crazy, dysfunctional situation and make a difference in your life. And what we see here with this man, this possessed man in this region, he can take the most broken thing and turn it into a story of redemption. And the dysfunction and the brokenness and the loneliness, all of it can melt away in a moment. And you become one who goes to tell all that God has done for you. And we see this theme again from the previous episode, telling what God has done. If we don't speak about what God has done, then how will others know? So it reinforces the need of speaking about what God is doing. Now, we don't do this in an obnoxious way. It's important that the people that we interact with in life see us like a person, just a normal person. Because if we become a way that people can't relate to, then it makes the receiving of our story that much more difficult. I think if people can see us as a regular person, this guy had an amazing story. He has an incredible testimony, but if he becomes so undigestible that people can't stand to be around him, then he's going to have a hard time telling his story because nobody will listen. Now, what I'm not advocating is, I'm not saying compromise or be some, weird hybrid of the world and, resurrected life. I'm not talking that, but there are ways that we may be that makes us hard to be around. And so I would encourage you to ask God for wisdom in how to be so that you can have a greater impact around those that you find yourselves around. You would have more opportunities to speak of what God has done. So can you imagine, though, putting yourself in this situation where Jesus finds himself? He sails over to a place, he gets off of the boat, and when this man sees Jesus, he cries out and falls at his feet shouting. This wasn't a very calm, quiet, collected encounter. They're shouting at the top of a voice. What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? One can only imagine the intensity of the moment. And it's very natural for us when we find ourselves in these types of situations, even, spiritual ones or, physical ones, whatever. It's very easy for our, emotions to take over or to navigate if we'll let them. It's okay for us to have, feelings. We are, as it were, human. So it's natural for us to have these feelings, but we're not to be driven by them. And so we may find ourselves in situations where our emotions want to steer us away from certain situations, certain uncomfortable things. But, we would just ask that the Lord strengthen us so that we too can have an opportunity to make a difference. If Jesus had not remained this man would have still been in bondage. He would not have been delivered. And the same would be true for us as we make our way through life, and the opposition that may come against us, because the enemy wants to maintain his control and leverage in lives. So we have to be, courageous and bold and brave for the gospel, for the sake of Jesus, so that we can execute his will on earth as it is already being executed in heaven. This man would have had a very lonely existence. He was trying to be controlled. He was living among the tombs. He was unclothed. Very just kind of a far-out existence there. I have a previous episode where I speak more detailed on some thoughts of this in previous episodes, so you're welcome to check those out if you haven't already. But there's a lot can be learned from this story. But ultimately, what I want us to appreciate is that no matter where you find yourself, in what situation in your life, no matter what kind of lost control that you have, no matter what kind of affliction or addiction or perversion, anything that you find yourself in is not outside of the reach of the power of God in your life. And we see that this man wasn't seeking God. He was just, I wouldn't even call it living. He was just existing, and God came to him. And so I would just pray that God would reach you where you are in your situation, and in just a spoken word from him, that you would be receptive, and that it would transform your life, and then enable you to then go forward and transform lives around you through the spoken word of God. So thank you, and I bless you, and pray for you all listening, that God may transform your lives, and that you would then go forth to be a transforming sentinel of the Lord. So thank you for being with me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. God bless.
I would trade 1,000,000 lifetimes for a moment here with you.